what we're going to do with just the last few minutes. I've organized the remainder of the questions, and I will attend to some that are gathered around the issue of protection and the punishment continuum and reparative justice. And then to finish, we will address some questions that came up about Colombia in particular together. The first thing I want to say is that it was made very clear to me during the break that maybe there was a misunderstanding about what I was saying about black feminism. I did not intend to suggest that the cause of black feminism is not important. Not only in the United States, but especially, of course, in Colombia, where we have already been told many times how little dialogue there is in this respect, and how urgent the issues are, particularly for Afro-Colombian women, and particularly for those in the rural regions. So I do not mean in any way to be interpreted as if I were neglecting the significance of this, nor the specificity of this. When I spoke about working with women of color, it's because in the United States, it is very important now, because we have a huge increase in a population which is a mix of migrants, recent migrants, but also much older communities of Latinos, that we must be in important solidarity with, as well as indigenous communities and independent nations that are much under stress because of their relationship to the U.S. federal government, as well as other women of color, and increasingly Muslims, and women from the Middle East, who are today the major targets, one might argue, of certain violences. So this is the reason I wanted to mention this work in solidarity. But it has been made very clear to me since I came, to both of us, that bringing the legacy of black feminism to Colombia, as Mara has asked, is urgent and important to build a conversation. So we will want to close with some of the questions that came up about that conversation. But first, I will just treat briefly some of the other questions that came up. About this ideology of protection, I received more than one question. Mara mentioned, for example, even today, in France, they passed the law to prohibit the wearing of the burqa. And Sarkozy, among others, expressed that this is about protecting women. This is an example of what we're talking about, when the ideology of protection is used against women and their communities. I mentioned a scholar yesterday, Gayatri Spivak, who uses the phrase for post-colonial studies, a phrase we should not fall prey to, of white men saving brown women from brown men. This is one of her descriptions of colonialism. That it's always in the guise of helping. Colonialism works when it is dressed up as the protection of some over others. So we should bear this in mind. So anytime I see language which pretends to protect, for example, women prisoners, or Muslim women, or black women, I am suspicious. Even if a certain part of that energy for activism or for change derives from the activism of those women. Because when we interact with the state to create laws, often the particular impetus, the particular reason to begin the struggle disappears in the face of another set of interests, which embrace this idea of protecting